Okay, ladies, we are going to talk about the peppers. This is my base. This is my number one. I have cut it out. I have wired it. And because I want it to keep the curve, I put I put one piece of foam core and two little pieces of mat board. So when I put it down, it's going to remain rounded so that it looks like a whole big chunk of peppers wound together. So I have cut out the 24 pieces and I have colored my edges, I have shaped them, and then I have them loaded onto my pad here in numerical order. So I'm going to start putting this together. And I'm going to start by trying to figure out where this stuff goes because I don't have my cutting guide laying here with me. So I'm going to start with number 2, which is the next number after 1. And I'm going to put a little bit of silicone on here, and that's way too much. So I'm going to take and wipe most of that off and clean it off the edges. And I'm going to take my tweezers and I'm going to take, well, I thought I was going to take my tweezers, there we go. And then I'm going to put this little guy right where he goes, which is right there. And I'm going to push him down just enough so that he touches, the silicone touches, and then I'm going to lift it away a little bit so that it has a little bit of height to it. And then I have my next piece, which is this leaf up here. So I'm going to take and put some silicone on that. And I would be using my awl, but it's packed already with the rest of my tools. So I'm sort of making do with what I have left here. And I'm going to take my tweezers, make sure there's no silicone on my edges. Then I'm going to place this guy where he goes. And I think I'm going to push it down on the outside and let it stand up a little bit on the inside. Remember, with silicone, you have about 15 minutes before it sets up. So if you want to adjust some of these guys, you can do that. So that's my number 2. My number 3 is somewhere. Oh, right there. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of silicone on that. And it's too much. Okay. I missed my awl, but my awl is packed, so I guess I could go get a toothpick. Okay, so this is my number 3. If you'll notice where there's other colors, like this little red pepper is bleeding over into this, I have colored it out a little bit with a green marker so that it's not quite so obvious that there's a red pepper right there. But I can still use that little bit of red to adjust the piece so I know where it goes. And then number 4 is this guy right here. Let me talk to you a little bit about cutting guides. I did the cutting guide to this one a couple of times and readjusted it. Cutting guides are just that, they're a guide. They're not a dyed-in-the-wool thing. There's 100 ways to put this together, maybe even more. So if you feel like something should go on before something else, you're free to adjust where things go and how they go. So it's kind of up to you how you do that. And then we're up to number 5, which is going to be this little guy right there. So remember to make sure that you have all of your edges colored before you glue your pieces, because if you do it after you glue them, most of the time the silicone will prevent the color from sticking on the edges. So you'll have white edges that show because the glue the glue is petroleum based and the markers are water based. So if you get silicone on an edge, you more than likely will not be able to color that edge later. So always try to make sure that you get all of your edges colored before you start gluing pieces on. So I'm just kind of looking at this, kind of guessing where these pieces go. They're not interchangeable, although a lot of them look alike. So it might be easier if you keep your cutting guide out so that you can kind of refer back to that. I'm going to put the first 10 pieces on, and then we're going to stop because my silicone's going to need to set up. And like I said, silicone takes approximately 20 minutes to do that. So if I keep putting pieces on, what's going to happen is they're going to keep shifting, and then they're not going to be where they're supposed to be. So I'm going to attach the first 10 pieces, and then I'm going to break, and you guys can put your first 10 pieces on, and then we'll come back and do the last 20, or the last 10. There's 24 pieces in the whole piece here. So just remember to take and adjust everything so that you're happy with how it looks. And then we're going to come back and finish this up. So I've got 3 more pieces to put on here. And then I'm going to take a break while you guys put your 10 pieces on. And then, we will proceed after that. So right now I'm at piece number 8. So we're going to finish with 9 and 10. And remember, when you put your silicone on, if you have any that goes over the edges, to be sure you wipe that off. Because if you don't, it's going to transfer and you're going to end up with silicone everywhere. It'd be nice if I knew where this goes. Oops. Oh, it goes right there. That's pretty good. I covered up my yellow so good I couldn't even find the place it goes. It goes right there. And then this is number 10. And then we're going to take a break while you guys do the first 10. And I let my silicone set up a little bit because it's very squishy at this point. Because I have some fairly good sized dollops of silicone on here. And I want to make sure that these things all get to set up before I go forward with the rest of my pieces. Okay, so that's the first 10 pieces right there. And now we're going to take a break and let you guys work on the same 10. You can see I can still move this stuff around because my silicone is really wet. Okay, that's the first 10, and we'll see you in a little bit.